Panic of 1893 was the worst economic downturn at this point in United States history. This was caused by the overbuilding and bad financing of railroads. This all started when the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad Company had about 1 million of their stocks dumped, causing the company to go completely bankrupt. This fear of losing money from failing business companies led to a chain of events that created depression for the United States. Many people sold stocks for gold immediately so that they wouldn't lose their money. Because so many people bought gold, the gold reserve depleted and dropped below its $100 million mark for the first time since the 1870s. With all of these businesses failing and the gold reserve depleting, the stock market broke, causing complete pandemonium on May 5, 1893. This date became known as Industrial Black Friday because thousands of people crowded the market to buy stocks at record low prices resulting from the panic. Businesses were failing at a rate of 24 businesses a day during the month of May, which helped contribute to the 2 million people, which is about 15% of our labor force during this time, to be unemployed by the month of August. Although the overbuilding of railroads was a big cause of the Panic of 1893, the Sherman Silver Purchase Act of 1890 was also considered as a cause. This act purchased 4.5 million ounces of silver every month. This was purchased to help raise the low prices of crops that were keeping farmers in debt, and also to create a market where miners would sell their silver. The 4.5 million ounces of silver was equivalent to the amount of silver that miners outputted, which caused a reduction in the price of silver. This reduction caused mining companies to cut the wages of miners because they couldn't sell their silver for that much anymore. Also, the Sherman Silver Purchase Act issued notes from the government that would be redeemable towards silver or gold. Since silver was declining, many people redeemed gold, causing the U.S. gold reserve to deplete.
In particular, many farmers across the American South and the Great Plains struggled. Inflation was low due to the country's limited supply of money. Because of this, farmers suffered because their crops were selling at lower and lower prices, and therefore they weren't making as much money anymore. Not only that, loans for equipment and land had ridiculously high interest rates, some were as high as 345%, and farmers could not pay them back. These farmers, who were understandably angry and frustrated, blamed these plutocrats, or people who get their power from becoming rich. They particularly blamed the bankers who were taking advantage of them and the giant corporations who were hurting competition in the marketplace. In the 1870s, groups like the Grangers and the Farmers' Alliances called for lower railroad rates. They also argued that corporations and the wealthy should pay more taxes. These groups, along with the Greenbackers and various labor political parties, began to unite against the mainstream Democratic and Republican parties.
With depleting sources of money and wage cuts, the panic led to many Americans facing difficult financial times. The rise of the populist movement, which is support for the concerns of ordinary people, tried to save the people from their financial droughts and unemployment. This movement started with the National Farmers Alliance and Industrial Union, promising farmers that they would help solve their agricultural problems and get them out of debt. Soon enough, this caught the attention of many Americans across the country, creating the Populist or People's Party. An example of this populist movement is Coxey's Army. A man named Jacob S. Coxey gathered hundreds of men on his journey to the White House to protest. They demanded that the government assisted the Americans by giving them jobs on public projects such as roads and government buildings. This protest shows the desire that ordinary Americans had for the government to help them solve their financial problems. Another example of the populist movement was the Pullman strike. These were members of the American Railroad Union who worked for the Pullman Palace Car Company, whose wages fell by 25% because of the Depression, but they were still charged the same amount of rent. If the workers were in debt, then the money they owed would just be taken out of their paycheck. The founder of the American Railroad Union, Eugene V. Debs, saw that his laborers were being taken advantage of and decided that they would refuse to move any Pullman car unless it was a mail car so that the federal troops didn't get involved. After the railroad company started to fire members of the union group,